two very special guests with us, Sarah and Ashley Costello, two founding members of the Thomas Costello Legacy Foundation. What is up, you two? Welcome to the AGB podcast.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for having us.
Of course. So, first, for those of you watching that do not know these fine two young ladies here, would you two intro a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the Thomas Costello Legacy Foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to get us kicked off?
Sure. My name is Sarah Costello. I am Tommy Costello's younger sister, and right here is my older sister, Ashley Costello. She is also Tommy Costello's oldest sister, and we are two out of the four of the founding members of the Thomas A. Costello Legacy Foundation. Sadly, in June of 2021, our brother, Tommy Costello, passed away in a freak accident, which left all of us absolutely shattered and with no direction on how to continue life. One thing that we really thought could help us carry on our lives and help continue on his legacy was to start a 501c3 nonprofit to help continue on his legacy while also supporting mentorship and also young people's education through scholarships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've had this foundation up and running since September of 2021, and to date we've given out over $30,000 in scholarships to students at UW-Madison, which is the college that Thomas attended, and me, go Badgers, as well as students at Chaska High School in Minnesota, which is where Tommy and all three of us actually went to high school. We also have donated over $30,000 to Make-A-Wish, which is an organization that gives life-changing opportunities and gifts to children with life-threatening diseases, as well as Donate Life, which is the organization that our family donated our brother's organs through. So we're very humbled to be able to continue on our brother's legacy in any small way that we can, and to support these organizations and these students that embody, everything that our brother was.
Wow, that is amazing. Not only to I got to see, be on the sideline kind of while this was all unfolding, and to see where you two are at today, what is it, October 12th, 2023, praise God. It just first and foremost, you guys have been crushing it. These numbers are insane to me, $30,000 in scholarship, 3,000 gifts. When you set out, was any of this did you have milestones in place, or was it simply we just wanted to get a foundation and get going? What were those initial thoughts as you were getting it started?
Yeah, I think for me personally, when you lose someone like your brother, your world just stops, and everything that you knew, you just don't, everything changes. And I think that nothing is in your control in those moments. You kind of just feel like your whole life has shifted and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I think for our family, we just thought that was one thing that we could do to have control over, right? So that's kind of why we started the foundation so quickly. We filed, I think a month after Tommy had passed away. And it's kind of funny looking back because it's a great question, but we didn't really have milestones, right? We had no idea of how much support we would end up receiving for this foundation. It was just more of a way to regain control over our life and find some way to continue on Tommy's legacy and to just really make sure that no one forgets him, because that was another thing that was in everyone's minds, right? How do we make sure that people don't forget about him when he passed away so young and so quickly? And he would have had such an incredible impact on the world and on the communities that he was in. So we wanted to make sure that didn't fall off either. So that's kind of why we created the foundation. And it's just the support has absolutely exceeded our expectations. We are so grateful for the people that continue to come out and support us at all of the events, support us from afar, send us good vibes, follow us on social media. I mean, it's truly been incredible.
Volunteer, help spread the world. I mean, people that didn't even know Tommy personally, the amount of support that we have received has really just been astounding. I mean, he was 24 years old when he passed away, and he had already packed a lifetime into those short 24 years. So I think, at least speaking for me personally and on behalf of my family, the things that he would have accomplished if he was able to live a full life would have been astronomical. So it feels like it's our job or our duty to continue on that legacy to the best of our abilities to have it come to fruition if he were to still have been here physically. He gave a TED talk. We're really just talking about the coefficient of life. You have 24 hours in a day. You can't change what family you're born into. You have 20, all these things. But he took every single thing that he could take control of and worked as hard as he possibly could. He beat cancer. He was a triple major within 4 years. I mean, just a hell of a guy.
Yeah, and it's really provided us with a framework of how to move forward. And part of the reason why we love AGB and JV is, this amazing model that you guys have, one of which is, what do you do when challenges arise, right? How do you move forward? And I think, his coefficient of, how do you, y equals mx plus b, how do you control what you can control in these situations is so key to overcoming challenges and not letting yourself get swept up in everything that you can't control. So we are very, very fortunate that he left us with that framework to move through this very difficult, phase of life.
Got us to where we are.
Absolutely.
Amen. That TED Talk was like the first introduction I had to Tommy way back when, and I just instantly drawn to the story. And unfortunately, when I did get to that TED Talk, Tommy already had passed away, and I was like, wait, he did all of that, and then this happened. Like, it was just like, I can't imagine, like being in your guys' shoes, and like you're saying, it gave you a framework for moving forward with adversity. Because I think if everyone watching, like, we know this, right? There's going to be ups and downs of life, adversity, opposition. It's going to hit us, and how, like, I love how each one of you were kind of talking off screen, kind of picked up a piece or carrying the torch of what Tommy was doing in all these different facets. So with that, you guys have a strong family unit. Like, now that it's up and running, we didn't really have, some milestones in place. What is the vision for, for this milestone or for this foundation now with all the support you're having? I think so many people are drawn to Tommy's story because it's so relatable of like, you're going to have hard times, but you have to maximize those 24 hours, like at the end of the day, right? That's all we're guaranteed. So yeah, talk to me a little bit about that. What is, now that we got this thing rocking and rolling, we got some momentum.
We're on the move.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we've talked a lot about this as a family. Like, where do we see this evolving to? And I think everyone's number one goal with the foundation, right? Like we've been talking about, is continuing on Tommy's legacy, continuing on the impact that he would have had for things that he cared about, right? So I think we all see us growing in scholarships, continuing to hand out more and more of those scholarships, and, just encouraging young people that embodied everything that Tommy embodied to continue their education. That was something that was very, very important to Tommy. So we want to keep doing that and growing those exponentially if we can. We also know, Tommy had a few organizations that we donate to that were so close to his heart and just honestly changed his life. And we are definitely going to continue giving and, staying close to those organizations and hopefully growing that footprint as well through other organizations that, even if they didn't, directly impact his life, have a very similar message of just carrying on this incredible legacy and doing good for the world. So we definitely see that footprint expanding as well. We also just want to keep, growing that truly global audience and getting people familiar with his story, because I love that you brought up that you first kind of heard about Tommy right through his TED Talk.
Video.
I think that is a incredible market, right, in business terms, but it is, right, of people that didn't even necessarily know him. But like you said, JB, everyone goes through tough times and everyone goes through challenges. So how can we spread that message of, hey, control what you can control in these moments? I know it's difficult, but there are small things that you can do to keep moving forward and to make your life beautiful and still exciting and to get back, right? And just really have a very fulfilling life at the end of the day. So making sure that we continue to spread that message in any way that we can as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said too. At least for me personally too, I really like to think about the general mentality that is at the essence of the foundation. And to me, that really is live with passion and be hashtag Tommy Strong.
Mm-hmm.
The hashtag Tommy Strong actually started, back in 2012 when he had cancer in high school. I mean, this kid missed like 3 days of school, would leave class to go throw up, wouldn't tell anyone, like didn't want any special treatment, nothing, like purposely scheduled his chemo rounds so he wouldn't have to miss school. I mean, his whole thing was that, oh, look at that, that's so cute. I mean, just for me, like being Tommy Strong is something that I always tell myself whenever I'm going through anything hard, any type of adversity, any challenge, to really just keep that consistency, because you can do hard things. You can. It doesn't, there's going to be life mines, in life. However, they come pretty damn quickly, but we can get through it if you just keep being Tommy Strong and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I think another really unique part about Tommy's story is that it's, seeing us now 2 years out from his passing, and this foundation has done such incredible things and it's been so successful. But the reality of, these tough times is horrible, right? Like losing Tommy was absolutely earth-shattering. And I think that's a very unique part of his story, right? That he did battle cancer and he did have these very, very horrendous things happen to him in his life. And we actually got to see him go through those things, keep a positive attitude, keep in mind what he could control and what he couldn't, and get through the other side. And I think it's so easy to preach, right? Like keep working through the challenges, like it's going to be okay. But it's really hard. It's really hard when you're in those deep, dark moments, right? And so just how do we keep working with people that are in those deep, dark moments and showing them that there is light, right? Yeah, keep fighting to see another day and live Tommy Strong.
There's a way out. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of times in life when you don't think there's a way out and you want to give up, but there is always an upside. Mm-hmm. And if you, keep yourself and your loved ones close and really just be consistent and keep working, there is going to be reward. There is going to be an out at some point, Definitely. Even when you don't think it.
Yep.
Absolutely. That I remember, I think it was the first golf outing and you guys were up there sharing, and I think that's the first time I heard the story of like Tommy being at Chaska High School and like sneaking away to the bathroom. And like I know I rock the Tommy Strong, bracelet.
Yeah.
And like when I say Tommy Strong, like I'm glad you guys brought that up. That's a story that goes into my head. It's like whatever you're going through right now, JB, like you can get through it, right? And
be okay.
Using this bracelet, like, just a simple reminder, like it's such an energizing and uplifting story of like you can get through those tough times.
Yeah, it kind of makes you feel less alone, right? When you wear the bracelet and you just it's something nice to remember of. Yeah. He went through difficult times and he got out the other side. I can do it too, right?
Mm-hmm. Creates a sense of community too. I feel like you're never going to be alone. Anyone in this community,
we're all in it together.
We're all in it together.
Whether we knew Tommy, loved Tommy, had never met him, but are inspired by his story, it's
like
absolutely
the essence that he brings. We got you.
Mm-hmm. Like I think is a perfect example of walking through that adversity, with a smile on your face, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things we talk about with our kids all the time is like, what if this season of life, like this season of adversity, isn't about you, right? You're supposed to be showing someone else how to get through it by keep on doing what you said you're going to do, right?
Yep. Right.
Just because, you're out, like, season-ending injuries is, something we hit on. Okay, the outcomes change. You're not going to be playing anymore, but you're still going to be a teammate this whole season. What kind of teammate you're going to be?
Absolutely. Yep. And that I actually talked about this at one of the golf outings, I think, but I love this concept, JP, of Like, what if Tommy's legacy was honestly dependent, and I believe it is, on how he handled these challenging situations, right? Because it's a lot easier to walk through life if nothing ever super bad happens to you, right? And you can keep a smile on your face. That's so awesome. But I think the reason why everyone still remembers him and is so passionate about this foundation and remembers his message, right? Even his message, they stem from the fact that he went through these challenging times and handled them with such grace, right? So like you're saying, what if these seasons of adversity are actually opportunities to create that legacy, not only for yourself, but for others, right? And set that example of people that you love and maybe people that you haven't even met before, like Tommy did, right? He just did what he knew to do and focused on what he could control and ended up, making this massive impact on people all over the world.
I mean, one of the things that he would always kind of quote to that I think about all the time is he would always say, I think it was from the Rocky movie, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and get back up. Life is going to knock you down. It's going to knock you down. It's not if, it's when. But the important thing is that you get back up and you keep going. It is so easy to just lie down. I mean, I remember right after Tommy died, I was fully prepared to just lie down and just like, that's it. My world stopped. I'm done. Not doing anything anymore. But that, I guess that is an option, but that is so not worth it. You have people that care about you. You have people that depend on you. You can make such a massive impact in this world if you just keep fighting, and it will get better.
Absolutely. You have that Tommy Strong community behind you. If you're near or far or brand new to the message, right? You got all of us. We are no stranger to hard times, but we'll get through it together.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we link out all the social media and the foundation's website. So if you are new to the foundation, make sure you follow along because it is a fun community and just doubling down on that community, getting into that. I feel like you guys have done an awesome job of creating environments, and one of them I got to be a part of up in Duluth, Minnesota. Right? You guys. You're not just raising money for scholarships, getting gifts. You guys are out there walking the walk, right? I know Ashley, you were hurting. I know I was hurting a bit. Talk us through. Was that how many marathons has been in Tommy's name now? Because you guys are out there doing so many races. It's
we
cool.
signed up for next year's too, actually.
Yep.
The full one.
No, I'm doing half. I got to do half, and then we're gonna work over at baby.
Next year,
I'm ambitious, but not that ambitious.
Speaking of, I got left on red in the group chat, and there I'm like, yo, anyone else doing the full? And boom.
Oh, no one responded.
No one responded.
I'll respond.
I'm already signed up. So
this is like the most Tommy Strong thing. So we have a wedding in Iowa that same day, and we're like, it'll be fine. We'll just run the race and then just drive, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna do it all. We're living with passion. We're doing it. No, but we've had triathlons. Yeah, 12 to 15 of us ran the full marathon last year, which was, yes, brutal, but one of the most incredible experiences. And talk about getting through adversity, right? I mean, absolutely. It's 26 pretty. Oh, no problem. Good.
Yeah, no, I was just pointing the medal. I have the medal on the back.
Yeah. Yes. And so I think that was a great example of all these people near and far, right, that came out and did this incredible feat that, 4% of the population or some crazy like that does. And all because that was something on Tommy's bucket list that he really wanted to do. So that was incredibly touching to get to run that race with all of you guys, so many loved ones. And I bet we've had upwards of 10 events that people have ran Tommy Strong shirts in. That is just incredible because that was a big passion of Tommy's, and he always wanted to do, a marathon, a triathlon, very into endurance sports. So it's really fun to get to continue that legacy part of it on as well.
And his old job at the investment banking firm at Rothschild actually has held several different 5Ks as well in New York and the LA offices. So people are doing it from different states, even without our help. They had us come out and we were able to speak and run. And it is so cool. We have a virtual option. So people are able, we had friends that did it from Europe because they were on a trip and they were sending us pictures and telling us all those things. I mean, people are so cool. So cool and so persistent to just try to continue on in what Tommy would do to better themselves and ultimately better our foundation.
Right. Absolutely.
100%. We're gonna put that out on a quote card or something. People are so cool. I couldn't agree more. But honestly, right? Come on, right?
So true. Yes, people are incredible.
Yeah, we're JB, I don't think you know this, but me and Ashley actually just signed up to go hike Mount Kilimanjaro because that was on Tommy's bucket list in January.
Hey, let's go hype that up. That's big time. That's big time.
Tommy actually was all signed up to go. Him and I were going to go in July of 2021, and he ended up passing away 3 weeks before we went. So now Sarah and I are going with two of his best friends from college. So I know it's gonna be incredible. But we're living with passion. We're doing it.
I love that. Living with passion and just living in a season of yes. Like
I
feel like
Costello's. I've never been camping before, and I'm gonna go do this, and it's gonna be really hard, but I'm excited. And we've done hard things before, and we can do it again.
Ain't that true? One foot in front of the other.
Hey, make sure y'all bring some camera equipment, vlog that. That's gonna be some high quality content.
She's never hiked before in her life and never slept in a tent, so we're gonna have to vlog.
Oh man!
Season of yes. You just go into it with a good mindset, right? I can do it.
I can do this. You can do this.
Is it going to be you two alone, or are you going to have more people or a guide?
We'll have a guide. Thank God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you imagine us doing?
You're fine.
I don't know. Should we keep go up? Keep going.
I think we're close.
I don't know. Looks good. No, we got a guide, and then two of Tommy's best friends and one of their sisters. So we got a squad.
Have our own little group, but all doing it for Tommy.
Hey, that's amazing. I can't wait to hear how that goes. And that kind of leads. We've been talking about this a lot, but I want to ask a question. And if you two could maybe answer it as if through Tommy's lens, and then answer it, both of you as well. But one thing we talk about with AGB is we want to help you understand what is your relationship with difficult. And I feel like you two have done an amazing job outlining how that has changed, but now you have this, new perspective, I would say, with difficult. But through Tommy and through you two, how would you describe your relationship with difficult?
Ooh, I love that question. Cutting deep.
Jeez, I like it. Hit him with the hard stuff.
Absolutely.
Do you care if I tell you what Tommy would say?
Please.
I think Tommy would say that he sees it as an opportunity.
He accepts it.
I think he honestly loved challenges. I think even from the time when he was young, he was always kind of pushing the envelope, trying new things, getting outside of his comfort zone. And then I think when he had cancer, it was forced difficulty, which is different, right? It's very much so out of your control. But I think even, going through that, he was presented with such an incredible life mindset after that, right? Of feeling like he was living in this gift, right? Of a second chance. I mean, he had friends that passed away, a lot of good friends that passed away from cancer while he was battling it. And I can't speak to what that was like, but from how he decided to live his life, it was embrace challenges and welcome challenges and difficulty, because if you are constantly comfortable, you're not going to grow. You're not going to learn. You're not going to make a legacy for yourself, right? It's in those times and those life seasons of difficulty that you really find out who you are and what you're capable of.
Yeah.
So that's what I think Tommy would say.
I love that answer. And that came to my mind too, like welcomes the difficulty, accepts it, takes the challenge itself as a challenge.
Yeah.
And even just being his sisters, growing up with him, he was always an amazing person. But after he got sick, through and after his battle with cancer, he completely transformed into what I do truly believe was the man that he was supposed to be. His mindset changed, how he took care of his body changed, his outlook on life. He had a lot of really bad things happen to him, and I had never met a more optimistic, optimistic person my entire life. He would push the envelope. He would always say, all gas, no brakes. Whatever he did, he would do it 150% because that's something he could have control over.
Right.
And he would always say, you know, I can't control if my cancer comes back. What I can control is how I spend each and every single one of my days.
Mm-hmm.
He would work out. He would eat right. You know, obviously he would have fun too, but every single day he would check Facebook for anybody's birthday, whether it's his coworkers, family, friends, anyone, and he would text them every single day. And I'm like, who does that? You're
come up and like
come
have
up
a
and
come
watch a movie, and he's like, no, that's what I want to do. He would set himself reminders to go research the news, like 15 minutes a day. I don't know anyone else who does that, but always getting better. He takes and sees these challenges as a way to beat them and get better.
Yeah.
I think that's
I love that. I think one of the things that I would say too that he did, but maybe a little bit inadvertently, right? You were talking about how he reached out to people and just truly cared about people, went above and beyond. I think, you know, my relationship to difficulty and to challenges is first and foremost, how do you ground yourself, right? How do you create a group of people around you that everything else apart, I will be okay because I have my people, right? And I have put time and effort into nurturing these relationships that I am just grounded, you know, hopefully once you can get to that point. And I think that's exactly what Tommy did. I think he cared about people, and no matter how busy he got, there was always enough time to reach out and to call his mom, call us, call friends, right? Stay in touch. And I think it helps, you know, just through life's challenges and life's ups and downs, if you have those people that are going to be constant in your life, right? Because it is hard when you're going through a season of change or difficulty. But if you have, you know, those people around you in that community, I think that'll help a lot. I also think, just on the same lines of, you know, taking these challenges head on, you know, after losing a brother, I think my outlook on life has changed a lot to, you know, my life will not go the way that I thought. And unfortunately, when you lose someone close to you, right, like every great thing that happens to you is going to be tinged with sadness. And that is horrible, right? I mean, that's heartbreaking that at our wedding someday, it's going to be sad because he's not going to be there. And it's not to say that we're not going to have incredible moments in our life, but I think it's once you can really think through, like, okay, my path has changed. It's out of my control. I'm not going down without a fight. I am going to say yes to every opportunity that comes my way. I'm going to be as good as a sister and daughter and friend and, you know, hopefully spouse one day as I possibly can, better myself to just create as good of a life as I possibly can. It's almost this renewed fight in you of, he lost his life and he has no control over that and we have no control over that. But if we give up, now it's an exponential loss, right? So how do we pick up everything that he was not able to continue and just make this world a better place and live great lives? Yeah. So that's what I would say about my relationship with challenges and difficulties.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to put into words, you know, everybody's relationship with difficulties because it changes from person to person. I mean, ours are still very different too. I mean, even just being younger, you know, Tommy was 24 when he passed away. I was 20. It was in the midst of college, COVID. Like, your world stops. It just, there is no good way around it. But kind of touching on what you touched on, having that support system is the foundation of getting through these challenges. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't even want to think that way. But it is so fundamental to have these people and really, like you kind of said too, to ground yourself, or even taking a step backwards. And I try to think a lot too, what would Tommy say? You know, just being his sisters, we had those very in-depth talks with him, and he was very in touch with his mortality because he did almost lose his life when he was, you know, had cancer, and he lost all those friends. And his outlook on life was so inspiring and also kind of humbling too. Like, it's going to be our last day one of these days. We have a finite amount of time, but there's a way to live on even after you're not here anymore. And that's something I like to think of too. Like, and like I said before, there are going to be grenades in life every single place that you go, but it's how much you can enjoy the time in between those challenges and those difficulties that I really do think that makes the difference. And me personally, I try to take on challenges the same way that Tommy did, meaning you can have this opportunity to come out the other side a better person than you were before. You kind of have two options in the way I see it. You can lie down and let it take over you, or you can push through it and you can beat it and you can become the best version of yourself. Not saying that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to give up sometimes, but eventually you have to keep going. That's kind of an outlook that I try to take sometimes, is that it's not fun and it's gonna suck. But if you have those people, that support system, and you have enough faith in yourself to like conquer this challenge, you can do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah, I love that. I think one other thing that we all have really taken on that we learned from Tommy, and that we all, got to flex when we were running the marathon, is like, if you can, when you're going through these challenges and these difficult moments, how do you just get yourself to put one foot in front of the other? I think that's a huge part of it, right? And it actually makes me think about, like, I think one of the most challenging moments of my life, I'm sure you would agree, is when you're about to walk down that aisle at the funeral. Like, you can't even begin to comprehend how you got here. How am I going to do, right? Like, I'm about to pass out. There's no way I can walk down this thing. And I just remember us, about to walk down and just saying, okay, one foot in front of the other. Like, we're going to figure this out, one foot in front of the other. Even if you don't have that long-term plan, you can control just putting one foot in front of the other and making your way forward. And I think it hits on the consistency part, right, of AGB's whole framework of how do you keep that consistency and the smaller chunks and don't worry so much about how it's going to all pan out in the end, right? Because sometimes that gets very overwhelming with difficulty. Difficult situations. So how do you just keep it small and lean on your people and just keep going forward?
Yeah, just keep going one foot in the other. That's a really good point.
Man, you two, I just gotta say, you two are both so inspiring. I hope you continue to like go around like a talking duo, right? And share your story. No, and seriously, and you beat me to my next question there, Ashley. Because I loved it. Like you guys' environment supports it, like grounding yourself. Like, okay, you've entered this difficult season. Do these things, surround yourself. But I was just about to ask, like, as you're going on year 3 now, like as things start to like get back to normal, obviously it'll never be normal for those impacted, but like, and things start to slow down, like, and you just answered it, like you can't look out too far. You have to keep it at the one foot in front of another mindset.
It's honestly the only way, because I am very, very bad at this. Honestly, I am a long-term planner and I like knowing what's to come in the upcoming years. And you just can't do that sometimes in life, right? Because you don't know. You don't know where you're going to be. You don't have control over the state of things. It's just, how do you, take the information that's given to you and do your best? And I think, not let yourself spin out, honestly, because I struggle with that too. It is very overwhelming thinking about having kids someday and not getting to introduce them to him, right? Like, but what good is me worrying about that right now gonna do, right? It's not gonna work. What I can control right now is how much time and effort I put into my relationships with people here that have been there, right, with me and have been supporting me from day one of this whole experience, how much time and effort I put into the foundation and actually carrying his life forward. And some days you roll out of bed and you're tired of fighting and it feels like, the weight of the world's on your shoulders. And those are the days that you got to just keep your head down and keep putting one foot in front of the other and letting people take care of you,
Yeah.
and just keep moving forward. And then there's other days where you're gonna want to fight, and you're gonna say yes to these incredible opportunities and make new friends, and you find this renewed sense of life and excitement and passion. And it's just such a wave, right? That you have to remember that the really, really bad days aren't going to last forever, but neither will the really great days, right? Like don't get too cocky or too comfortable when you're feeling on top of the world. Stay humble and remember where you came from and remember the people that were there for you. But keep fighting through those tough days too, because I do believe at the end of the day, if you are a good person and you fight hard to make a good life for yourself and others, the world will reward you.
This feeling will not last forever. I mean, when you're in that deep, dark pit, there is a way out. I promise you that feeling will not be constant your entire life. Even going into year 3, my heart still breaks when I think about the fact that Tommy isn't here anymore, but time really does heal a lot, and you learn, you gain a better perspective. I remember right after Tommy passed away, I was seeing a grief counselor, and she pointed out a really good aspect of kind of mixing in grief with anxiety and depression. Depression a lot of times comes from thinking about the past, and anxiety comes about thinking about the what ifs in the future. So what she really told to me was about grounding and staying present. You can't control what happened in the past. We can't, there's nothing we can do to change that. If you dwell on that, you're just going to get depressed and you're going to fall into that deep, dark hole. If you think about the future too much and you're thinking, what about our weddings? What about our kids? What if my life doesn't plan out exactly the way I wanted to? You're going to you're going to spiral.
Right.
Neither one of those things are going to help you. That's not to say that you can't allow yourself to have a fallback at any point in time, but whenever you feel yourself starting to kind of go on either side of the axis, you have to remember to ground yourself. This is a moment that you're in. This is what you can control. So take control of it to try to better yourself in the future.
Yeah, I love that. I think one other thing too that has been helpful is your attitude goes a long way, right? And I want to preface that by saying, make no mistake about it. We roll out of bed every morning 2 years later, and he is the first thing that we think about. And your heart breaks every single day, and it sucks to see photos of him, and it is still hard 2 years later. It is still so hard, and I don't think it'll ever get easier. But I think that there's a really important mindset shift that you can make of, I miss him, but I know that he's always with me, right? We both got these little T tattoos on our wrists, and I think the reason that we got those was to carry him with us. We're going to go out there and we're going to say yes to these things, and we're going to live great lives. And it's not leaving him behind. He's coming with us. He is coming with us. And yes, we miss him because it's different now that he's passed on, but we still see so many signs of him, and it's so much easier. And I think for me, excuse me, it's helped with the grief a lot. Just reminding myself that he is still here and someday I will be reunited with him. So in the meantime, my sister and I are going to go on all these incredible trips, and just what can you do to fill your life? But it also makes me think about I remember when the 1 year anniversary of his passing was coming up, and we were all like, oh my God, what do you do? Do you just sit there together and sob and stare at a wall all day? I don't even know how to begin to move through a day like that.
No roadmap.
And we just decided okay, we kind of have two options. We can sit there and sob and it just be us four, and it's one of the worst days of our life, or we can throw a party and we can have our loved ones together, and we can buy a keg in the backyard, and we can all cheers to him and have a great day and cry together, right?
Be sad together.
Yeah, but so much of that is your attitude, right? Yeah. It's so easy, like you were saying earlier, Sarah. It's so easy just to give up and say this day is going to be so hard, and I think this idea expands to more than just grief, right? It could be applicable to jobs or whatever, whatever it is that you're dealing with. If you have something on the horizon that you're just dreading, it's you can just lie down and let it overtake you and let it be a horrible experience, or you can try and, surround yourself, like we've been saying, with people that you love and people that are going to lift you up, and not saying it's going to make it easier or, alleviate that. But man, let me tell you, it definitely was way better than it could have been, right? When we were all together and you are crying, but you're hugging people and there's so much love and, reminiscing of these incredible stories, hearing stories that we had never heard before from his buddies. And it's a very difficult but intentional mindset shift that I think can help a lot.
I love that. How you two are using it, like it makes me think of this like analogy that some people use is like when we enter this world, there's your color picker, right? You got all these access to colors, and that's what we're playing this game of life with. But when you leave, you can change that color palette for everyone else who's playing. Just hearing you two, like Todd, like your color palette you're playing with is filled with Tommy, and it's just like it wouldn't be what it is today without going through this. And it's just so like when you're in it, it is so difficult. But when you're on the outside and looking in, you can see that there is a lot of beauty and difficulty, but you got to keep going, right? You got to make that choice.
Absolutely.
It's a choice.
It is a choice. That's the
And
best way to say
sucks.
it. I think that's probably a pretty common misconception, right? That it's like a resiliency, I think, is a choice. I don't really believe that people are born with it necessarily. I think it's a you wake up every morning and it's a choice.
And there's going to be setbacks. But
yeah. And it, again, like, I think it's important to share, like, it's so easy for us today to be here and laughing and having a great time, but that was not the reality for a very long time. I mean, it was nothing but tears for months. And just like you said, JB, I think, there can be beauty on the other side of it though, right? And it's a time in our lives that we will never forget. And I truly think now when things happen to us that are great, it's twinged with sadness because we miss him, but it's sweeter when we were in that spot, right? And we survived and we got through it. And the bonds that we created throughout that time will never be broken because it's such a unique and challenging and just also hopeful experience to go through.
I love that. Both of you were talking about when you're feeling this to ground yourself, right? Sarah talking about, anxieties, thinking out in the future, depression's thinking back in the past. You guys were both using this word, but those out there, that are listening, when you hear the word ground yourselves, get into the present moment. Could you guys talk a little bit on that, or like, what is your favorite technique? And I'll start. I know just anything physically active, like moving my body, it allows me to just shut everything off and lock in where my 10 toes are, right? Be where my feet are. What helps you to ground yourself?
Yeah. I actually have struggled with anxiety for a very long time, even prior to Tommy's passing. I feel like I remember it kind of starting when Tommy first got sick. Our dad was also very sick at the time, and I was 12 years old and just really had no idea what was going on, and that's kind of when it started. But I have been actively working on trying, grounding in those kinds of positions, especially during panic attacks. I mean, anyone who's gone through them, they are awful. And it is a very real thing. And it it should not be diminished. But at least when I, am recognizing that I'm spiraling out, I like to do, I think it's called the 5-3-2 rule or something. But so, okay, name 5 things you can see. I can see that picture frame. I can see the trees moving, and then 3 things you can touch. I can touch this chair. I can feel the ground, so just grounding yourself. So physically bringing your body back to the moment that you're in when your mind is really spiraling out of control. That is something that I like to do a lot of times too. I have also really struggled with, hyperventilating during that stuff. So really just trying to work on breath work and things like that, or even just picturing a happy place really does help too. And just you're safe, even though your mind is telling you you're in danger in that exact moment, you're in a safe place, you're okay, everything will be fine. And then once you can kind of collect yourself and ground yourself again, then I think it's kind of up to every single person, whether it be, go sit out in the sun or go move your body or go talk to someone, go get a hug. But I feel like just that initial kind of grounding movement really has proven well for me.
Yeah, I love that. I was gonna say the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing too.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like so helpful just to calm and slow your heart rate. Two things that come to mind. My first reaction to feeling overwhelmed or feeling very anxious about things is to kind of close up and go off on my own. And I was never really forced to deal with that until Tommy passed away. And like, you can't do it on your own, right? And so I think it's really been helpful for me. Like, I'm so lucky that I have an incredible sister, incredible parents. My best friends are like the greatest human beings. And it has been very helpful for me when I am in those days or moments of it just feels like the weight of the world is on my shoulders and there's so many things about the future that I'm not sure about, or I'm so, sad about the past or whatever it might be. And a hug and just talking to people goes so far for me. And it's been really challenging because I don't like to admit when I'm struggling. I don't like to admit when I'm feeling weak. But it has been so empowering at the end of the day to let people that I really trust and are close to me in on those moments.
Yeah.
And just helps ground me, right? Of yes, there's a lot going on. And yes, there's a lot that I have no control over here, but I have the best people around me and I'm not alone. And no matter what happens with this, it'll be okay. We'll figure it out. One other thing that I did that I don't know if I've ever even told you this, but right after Tommy passed away, I wrote myself a note on like my phone, right? And it was something that I read somewhere. And it was just, what if it turns out better than you could have ever imagined? And it's tricky with grief, right? Because you're like, well, no, like they were taken, so it's not going to be better. But I think back to this whole idea of like, there's beauty in pain and there's beauty and hope and resiliency. And it's something that I like to go back to a lot when I'm in those moments of panic or just really tough days of what if my life turns out being just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And yes, it's not all going to be ups, but what if I get the opportunity to live a full range of human experiences and emotion, right? Like, what if at the end of it all, I got to say that I experienced the worst that human experience had to offer with losing someone close to you, but I also got to experience the best of love from incredible people and great support. And I think that really helps ground me in the moment, right? Thinking about a bigger picture of, this moment won't last forever. And maybe it is a part of a bigger plan. And maybe it is an opportunity to, create something for myself and just overcome and be resilient.
Yeah, I love that. One last thing that I really like to think about too is there is no shame in asking for help. I mean, even
I was really bad at it.
Come on, hype that up. There's no shame.
No shame. Honestly, to me, that is a sign of strength.
Yeah.
I think emotional intelligence and
100%.
is such a valid it should not emotionality should not be seen as a weakness. And I feel like that's a very common misconception that when people get sad, they see it as a weakness or they don't want to reach out or, all these things. Feeling emotions is what really separates us from the animals when you think about it. Like you need help. And it's so not a weakness. And I am so thankful. And if I really just young people or anybody struggling through anything, please ask for help. You will never be sorry for it. And honestly, it does make you stronger.
I think another piece of it is it's so easy to think of resiliency and being strong and being tough as not showing weakness, right? Or not admitting that you need help or that you're struggling. Like in my head, right? When I think of resiliency, that's kind of overarching what I think of, but I actually think it's the exact opposite. I think it's you are not going to be truly resilient and you're not going to be able to get to a place where you can move on from these things if you don't talk about it or start to kind of work through it. There's some things in life that are too big to just shove down, right? And I have been guilty of it in the past for sure. But let me tell you, like once you start opening up to people about it and admitting about how much of a struggle it was for you, right? I think that's why I really try and make it a point of whenever I get to the opportunity to speak engagement of always touching on, hey, I know we're here and I know it looks like we're good, but it was hell for years. And that's part of resiliency, right? Like we walked through that dark time, and not to say we're on the other side, but we're still here and we're still standing. That's part of it. But we also had the courage to reach out to people and admit that we were struggling and admit that we needed help. And if you can talk through it and get your mind right, that's how you truly keep going, right? It's not just ignoring the problem. It's wrapping your head around it and getting yourself in a good spot to truly move forward with all the baggage that is going to come with it inherently, right?
Yeah. We both hit on, like, there's such a, I think we've done a great job as society of kind of opening up the idea of mental health and talking about it more, but there's still a lot of fear with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more acceptable to talk about, but yeah, letting that first person in, and then you're like, oh, this wasn't as scary or as bad as I thought. And actually, it feels good. I want to share more. I want to talk to more people.
Exactly. Like, who else wants to listen? Yeah.
It's a part of the human experience.
Well, then you find people that feel the same way. And you go from being alone and sad to being with someone else and sad, right?
It's a lot better than being alone and sad.
For sure. A lot less lonely.
Absolutely. One thing you both said, hug as well. Like, I'm a hugger. I'm gonna throw it out there for those of you that my introverts out there. Like, yeah, we are fields of energy, right? And so you are emulating so much energy, and when you can connect with someone else, it might sound silly, but I'm telling you, yeah. Hug it up, feel it.
It's incredible.
Tell the people you love them, that you love them. Hug them, give a high five. You can make someone's day, week from this smallest interaction.
Yeah, and it again, you just feel so much less lonely. I just can't explain it, right? You feel like you're struggling and carrying this big thing by yourself, and it's weird when you hug someone else. Sometimes it kind of feels like they are taking on a little bit for you, right? Even if it's metaphorical.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So one of the other things we're on mission here at AGB is to normalize insecurities. And so we saved this for the last question, the hardest question, right? We got you nice and comfortable. But one of the things we talk about in our course, AGB Mentality, is the 4 walls of defense, right? And so as we are feeling insecure, it's just as normal as feeling hungry. You go get some food. I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. We have these natural insecurities that rise, and there's 4 umbrellas we talk about. And so I'm going to ask you guys this question. When your insecurities rise, do you lean on a defensive wall, a shameful wall, or do you put up a cruelty wall, or do you put up an arrogance wall? And how are you trying to grow in your insecurities?
I love this question. Incredible. I know exactly. As soon as you said
I was going to say, I know. You said,
Love it. Come on, lay it out.
I feel like when I get insecure, I feel shame. And saying that kind of I like to call it like the little voices in my head. I'm sure we've all had that when you get in that deep, dark, scary place, and it's like, you're a bad daughter, you're a bad sister, you're not doing enough, you're not smart enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not, like, all these bombardings. And it's like the worst parts of my insecurities and the worst thoughts of myself just all come to a nice little surface, and it is scary. It's really, really scary when those things come up. But kind of touching on our last point, I try so hard to get thoughts out of my head. Sometimes it just gets too hard to get them out of your head by yourself. So I like to go and talk to people who really do know me, or at least have, different thoughts on me. So go to my sister and I say, I feel like I'm being a bad sister. And a lot of times it's not even because I did something. It's just because these insecurities are popping up. But I even sometimes make a list. It's like, I have a great family. I have a degree. I am a good people. I'm a good person to other people. Just trying to kind of itemize all these things. And even if you don't feel like you're a good person, I promise you are. If you're trying and you're thinking that way and you're not hurting others, that is a universal experience that every single human is going to have at one point or another, where you're your own biggest critic. the way that you see yourself is not how other people see you, especially when you're being negative on yourself.
100%.
You know, and I like to think about sometimes maybe why I'm so hard on myself is because I set sometimes maybe these unrealistic expectations for myself, like I need to be the smartest person in the room and da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
You can really only be the best version of yourself. And that's not, you know, a containable thing per se. There's no right or wrong answer to what that is. If you are positively making an impact on your own life and others, kudos. I think that's such a good place to be.
Definitely. For me, it's definitely defensive. I like it about myself in the aspect of, I think it's important to have conversations with yourself and with others sometimes, right? About really what's going on. I think it can really strengthen relationships at the end of the day. But I think my defensiveness stems from the fact that I put a lot of pressure on myself to excel in all aspects of my life. And I think it's just easier for me, right, than feeling shameful. I think feeling shameful maybe would be my natural response, but something kicks in that I don't want to feel shameful. So instead I go to defensive mode, and it's not a great quality, right? And I think what has been very helpful for myself is kind of like you said, talking to people that are different than you. I mean, we've had a lot of good conversations of how do you handle conflict and how do you help support other people when they're maybe not feeling their best, and how do you stay in touch with people and how they're doing? And how do I stay in touch with myself? I think I've learned to give myself some grace. And I think a lot of that has been from being in a position of, I felt like I was lacking in every aspect of my life in the months after Tommy passed away. I was being a horrible friend, right? Like I wasn't reaching out to my friends at all. I was in such a deep, dark hole. I was being a bad colleague, right? Doing the bare minimum. I didn't have enough in my own cup to help support my family as much as I would have liked. Like it strips away really all of your confidence when you go through something like that. And I think at one point, I had a really good conversation with you and Mom about like, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. If you're not, at your best all the time, it's going to be okay, right? Like give yourself a little bit of grace to mess up and to make mistakes. And I think how I really try and live my life is try and do your best. But if you can't, it's okay. But try again, right? That's the important part. Try again. Like beating yourself up over a mistake isn't going to do anything.
No.
Like, right, like Sarah said, if you're trying hard and you're, putting good energy out into the world and treating people well and have good intentions, that's the baseline to know that you're doing the right things. And then it's just owning it. If you aren't being as good a friend as you should be, or, sibling or daughter, whatever it is, it's okay. But let's let that go. And let's come up with actionable items to help me feel like I can get back up to that, that level that I want to be at. One other thing too, that someone from work gave me this advice right after Tommy passed away, and it's always stuck with me, but they were saying, kind of in your life, you have these 5 like nuances, right? So you have your mental health, your physical health, your friends, your family, and then your work. And he was like, I think a lot of people get really caught up in one aspect of it. And then if you get so caught up in one and that thing comes crumbling down, you have nothing else to lean on as far as confidence goes, right? So then it leads you to a place of insecurity. So I really try hard at least once a week to go through and say, okay, how do I feel like I'm showing up as a family member here? How do I feel like I'm showing up as a friend? How's my mental health doing? How's my physical health doing? How am I doing as a colleague? And I think that has helped a lot with insecurities, because then even if something does come up at work, or, hey, I haven't been able to run for 2 weeks, that makes me feel bad about myself. It's okay, because I got other good stuff going on in my life, and we can, work hard and readjust. And that's okay. Stay agile, stay flexible. Yeah. But I think just keeping that fight and always striving to achieve balance between those 5 things helps with a lot of insecurities that I've had in the past.
I love those 5 are a great framework. I know I played a little game with myself of like, from the software engineering world, like what if there's this, perfect, app that we could see all the time, and everything I'm doing is like how's it moving my levers? Like who's
Right.
impacting me? How am I impacting others?
Right.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I just gotta say, like, overarching theme, I just gotta like self-dialogue queens. Like I don't know what
Took a while.
like
Thank you
that's
out
what's
there.
coming through with this. Put that on a t-shirt because that's what you two are.
Print that.
Seriously. You've gone through more than most do at your age, but as we kind of unpacked, that's actually kind of what sets you up to be in this unique situation right now. And so any of you out there that are, going through trials and tribulation, just know that could be the reason for setting you up for the next thing. Right.
We're people and keep fighting.
Yep.
And JB, you live that motto too. So
Every
kudos to
single
you.
day.
And this is an incredible organization. We're
Yeah.
honored to get the opportunity to share our brother's story and our stories.
Yeah, honestly, and just so blessed to have been able to meet you. I mean, just even meeting someone who never
Heck yeah.
met Tommy, but you got to see him through this video, and now we've gotten to spend so much time with you, and we're just truly thankful for your friendship, support, and lifelong friendship.
And you're Tommy Strong, man.
You are Tommy.
Hey, let's go. Tommy, I need to get.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I might have to get y equals mx plus b, or I might have to ink it up. Take that next level.
I love
one
it.
too. I know. I want.
You know what? Let's be honest. I bet a bunch of us will end up getting that at some
We'll
point.
go do a group one.
Hey, group chat. Yeah, after the marathon, we'll have them waiting for us.
There you go. Love that. Feels right.
Perfect. We will have all their information in the description, but if for some reason you want to get a hold of these two and you're having trouble, please let us know. We would love to plug anyone to work with them. They're not just in Minnesota, as you're hearing. They have a global heart. They have a heart for the mission field of kingdom building. I'll say that. You can hear it in every word they're talking. But thank you so much, Sarah and Ashley Costello. It's been a pleasure having you. And I can't wait to have you back next time. Appreciate y'all.
You're already looking forward to it.